What is good, everybody? This week, we're going to look at Julian Blackmon, the newest member of the New Orleans Saints secondary. The Saints signed him after Tyrann Mathieu announced his retirement a day before training camp started. Now, Julian Blackmon is a talented safety. He can make plays on the ball. The biggest problem with him throughout his career has been injuries. He's had a different injury, I'm pretty sure, every year for the past few years. But when he's on the field, he is a productive player. He has, I believe, 7 interceptions over the last couple of years, without even playing in all of the games. So in today's video, we're going to go over those 7 interceptions, see how he made them, and maybe take a look at how he can make an impact on the Saints defense, because I assume he will kind of step into a starting role. I'm pretty sure that there will be a, quote unquote competition between him and Jordan Howden, but just based off how I feel things are going to play out, I would assume that Julian Blackmon would end up winning that job just based on what he's been able to do in his career so far. So let's get into it. Let's look at all of Julian Blackmon's interceptions over the last couple of years. Alrighty, in this first clip here, this is going to be from the 2023 season. Blackmon's going to be wearing the number 32 jersey. All right, going against Tennessee Titans here in this clip. All right, and you can see here, the Colts are going to be in a cover 2 look, and Blackmon's going to be playing one of them deep half field safeties. So essentially at the snap of the ball, he's going to get width, and basically he is responsible for this entire half of the field. Okay, and again, he's going to be playing that half field safety, and he's going to be sort of just, reading this side of the field, seeing what's going on. There's not really any threats in his area yet, but he's just looking at the quarterback's eyes, watching him. And the thing about this play over here is this cornerback down here is playing a cloud technique. So basically he's going to carry this receiver, which is, I believe, DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to carry him vertical until he gets a threat to the flat, right? So if he doesn't get a threat to the flat, he's just going to carry him vertical all the way, right? But you can see here late, the running back is going to leak, and he's going to run this little check down into the flat. So guess what? That pulls this cornerback down to try to break on that flat. So Blackmon also sees that, right? He's still looking at the quarterback. He sees the flat coming. He knows that this cornerback down here, his teammate, is going to have to fall down to get this, which in turn should leave DeAndre Hopkins pretty wide open down the sideline. But you can see the instincts of Blackmon. He notices it, and he's going to break on it right away. As soon as he sees, he's reading Ryan Tannehill's eyes. As soon as he sees him look that way and start that throwing motion, he's already heading towards there. And he's going, and he's able to pick it off, and he gets the interception. I mean, this is a really good, rangy, instinctive play from Julian Blackmon from that deep half safety position. And again, like, we can take a look. As soon as Tannehill looks over here, Blackmon's starting to break that way. But as soon as that throwing motion is enacted from Ryan Tannehill, he's already on his way, and he closes speed really quickly and is able to pick the ball off. So really good first interception to go over from Julian Blackmon. Alrighty, looking at the next one here. This time they're going against the Cleveland Browns, and the Colts, they're going to, line a bunch of people up at the line of scrimmage, act like they're sending a million. They're going to drop an out, but they're going to be in a cover 3 look, and Blackmon is going to be responsible for the middle third of the field in this 3 deep look. Okay, and this is actually a decent play call from the Browns to attack the coverage that the Colts are playing. They're sort of in this bunch look. You get this guy up here, number 2 at the top. I'm pretty sure it's Amari Cooper. He stops here, and that's going to sort of pull this deep third defender back and sort of open up this throwing lane here for this guy coming across the middle of the field. And Blackmon, remember, he's responsible for the third. So this is kind of a gray area in this coverage. Like, okay, who should take him, this guy or this guy? But in reality, this guy needs to fall back and leave this guy alone, because it's his job to not let anything get behind him towards the right side of the field. But Blackmon, really, there's no threats over here on this side of the field. So he sees him. He's going to follow him, right? And really, he is going to be the reason this probably isn't a touchdown, right? You can see that Colts defender does eventually back off into it, but by the time, he would have gotten there, it would have been caught and a touchdown. But Blackmon sees it, and he gets there, and he's able to jump in front of it for the interception. Now, with a better throw, this is probably a touchdown, right? It's calling it like it is. If this thing is probably released now with a good throw on the run, if this was like prime Deshaun Watson, this is a touchdown. But it wasn't, right? And Julian Blackmon was able to keep track of it and stay with it throughout the entire play, despite it really not being his his responsibility. This needs to be more so on this corner, falling back and getting, in front of it. But because he stayed with it, because he had no threats to his side of the field and he kept eyes on him, he was able to show that range and instinct again to go up and get that interception on the ball. And you can see right away just from these first two interceptions what type of player that Julian Blackmon is and what he likes to do, right? Super rangy, super instinctive, and he's a ball hawk. If the ball is in the air and he is around it or he has a chance to make a play on it, he's most likely going to go up and snag it. All right, next one here going against the New England Patriots, and this time it's kind of hard to tell what the Colts are trying to do. It looks like they're trying to get into a cover three look again. They're sort of pressing it, but I would think something like this here, and then this is Blackmon. He's going to be dropping down into this hook area. When you have flat, something like that, right? Again, it's kind of hard to tell what they're doing. And this is another situation where this is a good call to attack the coverage. You're just going to send the tight end here sort of on this vertical route, and it's going to again attack that kind of gray area in that cover three coverage, right? Here's the deep third who kind of gets caught underneath. Well, there's nobody to cover this area of the field, right? And again, Blackmon here is he's starting high, but he's going to drop down into this sort of hook curl zone right here, right? Sort of just look for anything coming across the middle of the field. But again, play action, he kind of feels it, and you can see him falling back. He sees it at this point, right? He's like, uh-oh, that's going to be open, and he falls back, and luckily 53 is able to get a hand on this, and the interception sort of falls on his lap. So Colts get a little bit lucky here as well, because I mean this was essentially wide open, because you got your guy over here sort of get caught up and really ran through by, I believe, a tight end, and there was going to be nobody there in the back end for this touchdown. But gets his hand up, and again, if the ball is around him and it falls, anywhere near him, he's probably going to come open with the interception. And, even though this isn't him like snagging it, with good coverage, you can see the fluidity here for him to flip his hips right there, just quick enough to make that interception. All right, in this one here, Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to run this sort of little wrap concept that works really well against two deep safeties. Blackmon here again. And, they're just going to run the tight end, sit right here, and then they're going to have this guy come behind it into this sort of wide open zone. And once again, right, sort of like the last clip, quarterback throws it, get a tip off the receiver. I mean, this is, horrific throw, right? Like, this is wide open, horrific throw. But again, the ball, like I said before, if it's near Blackmon, he's probably going to intercept it, and that's what happens. And this capped off his fourth interception of this season, and it would have been his final interception for the season. So, it's really good to see. A lot of times you see plays like this, they don't get made, right? The ball is just sort of, it's either not caught by the defender, or the defender isn't really ready for it. They don't have the instincts to catch it. They don't have the hands to catch it. And, they just sort of, you live on to have to play the next play. But when the ball is around Julian Blackmon, he's going to intercept it. All right, now we move to the 2024 season, which would have been last season, obviously, here against the Tennessee Titans. Looks like the Titans, the Colts are going to come out in some man coverage, and Blackmon, he is going to be the deep safety in the cover one look, which basically means don't let anybody get behind you, right? And these are the type of plays that I think really make him special as a player, and what the Saints are looking for is these ball hawking type of plays where when the quarterback chunks it up deep, you better go and get it. So, this Levis is going to be looking for the receiver up top, right? It's not really open, right? And you can see Blackmon here is just going to go over there and snag it, right? And again, what do you look for in these types of plays? Well, yeah, it wasn't open, but let's look at Blackmon reading the quarterback. So right here, Levis takes his hitch, and really as soon as he takes that hitch, that's when Blackmon knows, okay, he's looking right. This ball is going right. Let me get into my break right now. I mean, check this out. Look, he is starting to run that way towards the receiver, and the ball hasn't even been thrown yet. Now, when the ball is thrown, he's able to make it there to get the interception. And this was a, underthrown ball. But even if this ball, let's say, was, launched, right, and put in front of the receiver, Blackmon, I believe, still would be able to make this play. I mean, you can see the trajectory just from when he leaves, right? doing a little sports science here, he would have still been able to get there even if this ball was not underthrown. But it was underthrown and he adjusts perfectly and he comes back to it and he makes the interception. Now, this next interception here is really one of the more wild ones that you'll probably ever see. And this just really, backs my saying that when the ball is anywhere around him for him to get, he will get it because, I mean, just watch this playthrough, right? I mean, huh? Like, what even happened there, right? So, I mean, looks like the Colts are in man coverage again. Blackmon here, middle of the field, sort of just, surveying and looking for, any crosshairs, anything that comes open so he can jump in front of it. And, they go to the tight end. Tight end, doesn't ever really catch it. His friend here, his DB friend, is able to help kind of jar this thing loose, and it's right here in the air. I mean, literally just a couple of inches off the ground, and Blackmon is able to scoop that thing up and take it back for, however many yards. But I mean, again, like, this is just, it's concentration, it's focus, it's not giving up on the play until you hear the whistle. I mean, how many times will you see this happen and the ball just hits the ground, So Blackmon has the instincts to stay with it, the focus. He picks it up and he gets another interception on the season. All right, the last one here, and this one might just be the most impressive. So again, Blackmon up here, safety position, and he's going to read the quarterback the entire way, and he pretty much shows everything you want to see in a ball hawking safety on this play. So, the Jaguars are looking to go deep on this play, right? And you can see he's reading the quarterback. He's reading the quarterback. He sees this threat over here, sort of running vertical, right? So he kind of breaks on it. But then he also, is paying attention to what he has going on the backside because they're in a 3-by-1 formation. And usually when you get these 3-by-1 formations, one of these three guys are usually going to run some sort of vertical, through that side of the field. So Blackmon is paying attention to that as well. So really he has his eyes and his instincts on two threats right now. So he's got this guy right here running vertical, but he feels the backside coming, right? This is Brian Thomas Jr., one of the best, young receivers in the league. He feels it and he is able to flip his hips, right? Essentially all the way around, get his eyes back, look for the ball and watch him track this ball, right? Watch him sort of track it all the way through the air, right? You would think, oh, the receiver has a step on him. Well, he has a step on him because Blackmon's seen the ball the entire way in the air and he knows that thing is not coming close to being in front of the receiver where it needs to be, right? And he goes up and he snags that thing out of the air, right? This is a really elite safety play from Julian Blackmon. And again, I mean, like, we're starting out, we flip our hips, we track the ball in the air immediately, right? Even before the receiver does, or maybe he just does a better job. I'm not sure, but he times this thing perfectly and goes up and he gets it out of the air. So, I think Julian Blackmon, fantastic pickup for the New Orleans Saints. I'm really surprised that he was still out there on the market. I know there's some other guys as well, but I think, if I'm reading reports and stuff correctly, the reason he was still out there is because of all of the injury concerns that he has to go along with him, which means he'll fit perfectly in with the New Orleans Saints. Appreciate you guys watching. Peace.